Today's video centers around doing some small details, and some of the details I've done on some of the other bikes in my collection that may be of value, maybe give you some ideas or some thoughts of things you can do. And some of the things I wanted to do today, I wanted to swap out some of the bolts on the fender and on the fairing mounts, and it all worked out pretty good today. Good info. Today's video is going to be about some small details that we're going to be doing to the Mt09 and why I think they're important. I'm convinced, and I don't know that there's a way of proving this or not proving it, but you take any motorcycle and there's little details, and if you do enough of them, it changes the look of the bike, and you really didn't spend a lot of money or a lot of time. Small little things can change your bike, make it a lot more attractive, and I think one of the things always was, whenever I would take something apart, I'd polish the bolts. Well, some people don't. They just put them back in rusty bolts. I thought a little detail like that, when you're doing a restoration or you have to take a bike apart, an example, when you have to change a tire, if you don't clean the rim, I don't know, see? So I'm trying to pass on some of the little things that I think make a bike, just makes the bike your own, makes it a little special. And if people want to have the alternative, I always say, is you buy a bike at the dealer, ride it and trade it in. Nothing wrong with that either. Whatever makes you happy. Basically, every bike in my collection has a lot of little detail things. Some of the bikes, like the FZR, have major 900-hour restorations. Some bikes, like the Mt09, are still a work in progress. But even a bike that I've already restored, there's always room for some little minor change. And I enjoy doing this. A lot of people don't think it's important. That's perfectly okay. But if you have a passion for something, a passion for model airplanes, motorcycling, whatever, golf, it doesn't matter. You always want it to be as good as you can possibly make it. Even to the point where a day like today, it's pouring rain outside, it's a rainy day, it's going to rain all day, maybe tomorrow too. I don't know, but I'll have some time to do some detailing on the Mt09. And one of the little details came in the mail today. Now, little details today, I went and ordered, and it was basically the same price. They've changed the price of the windshield and added it to the shipping, but it's still, when you're all done, it's $36 with the shipping from China. But I ordered a spare. Now, the spare is not, I'm not worried about cracking it. I wanted to see how it would look in matching blue, since I have that Chromax paint. And I thought, well, I've been laying blue tape out here and trying to figure out if I want to leave the top clear. It's a detail. And then I thought, you know what would be something different, since they're so inexpensive? I want to make the whole windshield blue, like it's a piece of bodywork, like it would be on a sport bike. So I ordered the spare windshield, and they jacked the price up by $1. I can't believe it. I paid $1 less. I don't know. Anyway, we're going to get this as part of our, well, Christmas present, I guess. Now, I never can figure out how they work this. You get free shipping if you order it for $36, or you pay this. Doesn't matter. The bottom line is, here's the price for a replacement windshield. Now, it's not a replacement. I want to have this for one of my evil twin projects in the future. I want to make a blue one, or a blue combination, but I want to have the choice of switching it back and forth. So this is a relatively inexpensive modification for the future, a future windy video. Now, since we don't actually look through it, it really doesn't matter. It's that kind of a thing. And it's the kind of thing, like, I always like to have evil twins. I like to have a bike that in the middle of the winter, middle of summer, I get a day of training like today, and I can evil twin out a bike. I can take the windshield off with 4 screws, put the blue windshield on, and then I have the illusion or the feeling that maybe I have a new bike without buying a new bike. Now, one little detail I did during this restoration, small details. This piece here on a stock bike is flat black. I turned that piece into carbon fiber. I did it on video, showed everybody how I did it. And not one person that's ever seen this bike when the sun is shining, you look through the windshield and you see that carbon fiber. Well, everybody that notices that, it just confirmed in my mind, a small detail like that can change the whole bike. Now, our beloved GS. I have a whole set of bodywork for this and a whole spare exhaust system. In fact, I have a whole spare bike. But this is one of the choices I always have. Now, John POTHIER made up the stenciling and the decals, and I want to show you how fussy you can be when you get carried away. This is a Mustang color. It's a color that Ford Motor Company paints Mustangs. It's a special color. It very much matches the West Cooley color. But when John did the decals, John POTHIER did these decals, we couldn't get this color exactly right. So what he did, he went to a Ford dealer with his, I guess, his secret camera that you can do these things with Photoshop, and he made these decals. They are a perfect match. And it's a little detail like that, because when you buy these decals, they're not this color. But this is a perfect color match. And I think it's a small detail that makes this bike a little special. And I may in the spring or in the summer decide I want to have a West Cooley bike again. And it's a one-day switch it over. But whether you have a West Cooley GS or that never existed, it's a one-of-a-kind, or you have the standard paint job, it's nice to have a whole set of extra bodywork. And again, even nicer to have a whole bike. Now, a small detail, when I bought the R1, I noticed they made this kit of these plugs that plug in, and you don't see the bolts on the frame. Kind of cleans up that look a little bit. I bought it. The problem is there's no set that's made for the, that I've been able to find for the MT09, so I bought a whole set. They're not here yet, and they may be here later today, but there's a whole set of 50. I hope I'm going to be able to get enough that they'll be a coordinated fit and they'll look better. And if they don't, I like the idea you can just take them off. Now, small detail, I made these carbon fiber parts for the little reservoir. Polished the cap. The cap came plastic. I bought a cap and polished it. Little details. These are all tiny little details. But when you're all done, I think it just makes the bike that much nicer. The carbon fiber muffler covers. When I bought the bike, these were only available from Yamaha in dull carbon. And I said, the hell with that. I just took the covers that come with it that are flat black, laid carbon fiber on top of them, and then did the polish the resin thing. And, of course, including black bolts. That's the part. When those bolts are silver, it just looks hokey. It looks like an add-on. What I did, I recently ordered a whole collection, I think there's 50 altogether, of black bolts, so when I do carbon fiber parts, I want the bolts to disappear. Again, that's a small cosmetic detail. And when I make the set of rims for the MT09, I'm going to mix my own silver paint, of course, and Karen's going to be part of this whole thing. When I hand buff these out, and I touch them right now, it's very, very nice to have buffed out wheels. Very, very easy to keep them clean, too. Small detail, when I did the FZR, this was a tail light. I filled it all in, and to me that makes the back end of the bike look so much nicer and more custom, and with the tail light and the license plate on the bottom instead of how the stock bike is. And it's really not that difficult to do. And of course, because I have a spare seat, when this bike was a Ferrari bike, I looked at it both ways, and I can swap it over if I ever want to go back to having a Ferrari bike. It's just a matter of paint. Here's something you will not believe, but that cover, where that bolt is, there's a bolt under there. That little cover, I had that in stock. When I made this side cover, I made this side cover out of carbon fiber, made this piece, it's added on, that's not stock. From carbon fiber, and of course it's painted and buffed and everything, but this one piece, when I put the two pictures side by side, and John POTHIER had made those little Photoshop things for the computer, I looked at it for weeks before I decided exactly what shape I wanted, and plugging in that bolt and having all the stenciling that Thomas Luciano did, all that stenciling, and John came up with this one, I think, and we mixed the gold paint. But my point is, it's all little details. But in the end, I think that came out great. And I think it's the combination of little details and matching graphics and custom wheels can make it so special very easily. Now, I always think a nice thing on a GS is these little covers that cover the bolts. It's little details that make that dashboard area look really nice. Now, a lot of people don't care. They could care less about that. But I just think little touches like that, and that's what I'm looking for today. I have that box of black bolts that came. I'm going to see how I can use them to my advantage. So before we go down to shop and see what we have, it's these bolts that I managed to use. Those are windshield bolts, but I don't like Yeah, I don't like a polished bolt on a piece of carbon fiber. I like the bolt to disappear, so that makes the carbon fiber stand out a little more. I'm sure I have these bolts now down in the cellar. I'm going to run down there, have a cup of coffee, and come up and see if I can do something. And if I have any bolts left over, I'll look around if there's anything else I think would be appropriate here. But now that that windshield has been ordered, oh, I feel so good about that windshield. That'll change the whole look of the bike. And what I can do is, with 4 bolts, like I say, on Saturday, ride it with the windshield, put the other one on, oh, and tell everybody you have 2 bikes. And you know what? Among my set of friends, some people would believe it. But a lot of these details, if you don't look real close and you don't look in bright sun, a lot of these details slip right by you. And it's amazing to me how easy some of them are to do, just like polishing the bolts or putting black bolts that don't take away from the carbon fiber. So I'm looking at this, and I'm looking at all of this, and I have a box of black bolts. I'm going to see if I can use them to my advantage. So with the wheel in prime, obviously because it's raining out there today, we're not going to be able to do any painting, but we'll be able to swap out some of those bolts. So I always try to line this stuff up on my little project table. Another thing I want to do, as soon as I have something to buff, is try Dale's. Dale donated that to our cause. And this is the box of bolts that came today. Now, this was $13 from Amazon. I want to do an unboxing. I want to see if these are going to be appropriate for my use. I always love doing an unboxing from Amazon. And now, to be honest, so I want to pass some good information on. I ordered that windshield, the first one, and they gave me a date that it would be here like 2 months later. It was like a 60-day wait. And I said, oh, okay, there's a shipping supply. And it really came in about 2 weeks. So I think they make it that you're not calling them or calling Amazon maybe, but they always allow. I would allow if you're ordering that thing and it's coming, and it came in a perfect packing. I'm going to do the next one, an unboxing, because I know I bought it from the same guy, same person anyway. It came, there wasn't a scratch on it. It was really packed in bubble wrap beautifully. So that gives me a little confidence that some of this other stuff is going to be fine. Now, here's another trick. When I used to order bolts from Bolt Depot, I want to show this. This is really good. I would order dozens at a time. They were very inexpensive. They don't have any appropriate for what I want this for. But I would always order bolts longer than what I needed, because it's very, very easy just to cut them off. But if you order bolts that are 1 thread too short, they're useless. So first thing here, I'm going to take the old bolts out, and you always want to catch on anything you doing a bolt, even something that's not structural, that's just cosmetic, you want to catch at least 3 full threads. That's the machine shop. This, I don't know what you would say the standard is, to always have three full threads caught. So I was thinking, this is very nice now. They're various lengths, of course, and they tell you, now if you go to Amazon, and it tells you what the material is, and if it's a black oxide finish, that should last pretty well. I've got them 10 pieces, 10 pieces, 10 pieces. Now, the difference here is it's in a nice little case, and this is going to be very handy. I'm not going to mix these in with the regular bolts. Just be easier for me to do jobs, because I do anticipate making some carbon fiber parts over the winter, and I'll want to be attaching them with black bolts, not shiny bolts. Anyway, that's, I guess, just a convenience item. And by the way, Amazon sells these in, I saw 4, 5, 6, 8, and 10 that you can buy a set of these bolts. And some that start like this would be the smallest one, and they get longer. Very, very convenient. I've always bought stuff from Bolt Depot when I wanted stainless, that I wanted to polish it. These I want the black finish, so right from Amazon, as convenient as can be. And a black oxide finish is good too. It keeps the bolts from rusting up to a point, I guess. I guess if you're riding in the rain a lot, maybe everything rusts. Everything except stainless steel. But these bolts, I think they're great for attaching carbon fiber. After another cup of coffee, it's time to go back out to the garage, and it's still raining all day. Good day to do this. Kind of makes me glad I got that ride in yesterday. Boy, a beautiful, beautiful ride. Today, not so much. All right, it's time. What I got to do, I'm going to just make this easy on myself. Take the windshield off. I've only done that about 400 times already. And I'm already picturing what this is going to look like with that part painted. I think that's going to be pretty cool. But again, once I have it painted, I may not like it. Then it'll be my spare windshield. We'll see. And I got plenty of the blue paint. I bought a quart of the blue paint so I can endlessly paint things that match. Now, another advantage of having these black instead of silver, just not the appearance, but I know from time to time people have, and I have too, and I learned a hard lesson. I've put aluminum bolts in, and that little, from taking them on and off a lot, I guess if you don't take them on and off, it's a lot better. What happens is that end with a wrench goes in, get boogered up, and you got to use a vice grip to try to get them off, and it gets really labor intensive. Now, I was real careful when I installed those modified brackets to make sure these bolts lined up and didn't put any stress on the windshield at all. Now, the thing I'm going to do is very carefully replace one bolt at a time. When I made this bulkhead here, it tied this all together, but I don't want it to shift. I was real careful. I really was careful to get everything lined up when I made that bracket, and I made that on a previous video. For anybody that wants to have a laid-back windshield, that's one way to do it. And obviously, there's a lot of others. Or you just live with the fact the windshield is sticking too far. To me, my taste, is too far straight up. And with it laid back and maybe painted blue, we don't know. That may look pretty cool. If it doesn't, it'll be my spare, my evil twin part. Okay, so where this is very handy is to have these parts, and I've got exactly the right screw. But if I didn't, let's say it was a little too short, I'd have one a little bit longer. That's what's nice about having a nice assortment of bolts when you're doing any kind of project like this. I always want to make sure I catch more than 3 full threads. Now, as I'm torquing this down, I just realized this is going to look a lot better than I thought it would. The bolts were just bothering me that they were that way. Just me. It's just me. And all that's left is a bolt on the windshield, and that part of that is in the bank. Now, I'm always real careful when I'm putting the bolts in and tightening them down, and not to over tighten them, of course, and not to scratch the windshield slip with the Allen wrench or anything. I'm always very careful getting it on. Now, a small detail improvement. I just like that you don't have the bolts jumping out at you. And the bolts that I still have, of course I have extra, of course, I'll look around in the next couple of days if any other parts on any of the other bikes would be an improvement. And in the past, I've always liked to polish everything, but in this case, carbon fiber and that tinted windshield, I think it looks better with the black bolts. But of course, everything we do in life is subjective. And I think every one of these little small details that I've made, I've had this bike over a year, over 10,000 miles. All of these little details, when I look back at the day I bought the bike and now, small detail, big improvement. Now, among the little details, I'm still thinking about what I want to do. I wanted to make a piece like I did for the 650 to somehow cover that up, and I don't know that that's going to work. I wanted to get those, if they ever come. Now, Amazon usually sends, when you order stuff, 2 days. I'm waiting, this is the 3rd day. They'll come maybe tomorrow, who knows, and cover this piece up. I was thinking make a little piece of carbon fiber that would go in there or cover these bolts. Again, all little cosmetic details, and it's all in the eye of the beholder. And there's always people that just prefer having a stock bike. Well, that's fine too. But I enjoy this little cosmetic stuff, and it's always stuff you can undo if you don't like it. And in fact, in the worst of all worlds, if I get the blue windshield, which I expect, I don't know how many days, months, you never know. When I do that as a project, I can swap it over. If I don't like it, flip it back. It's no problem. But I'm still trying to think if I wanted to make the windshield, we're leaving this glass. See, you don't look through this windshield, so it doesn't really matter. You could paint the whole thing. Or if I wanted to leave like on, and I have 2 windshields for this bike, for the 750. I don't know how it's going to appeal to me until I make it. I have the 2 windshields for the R1. I had that one painted up in the front. I like the tinted one better. All in the eye of the beholder. We're ultimately going to see how this plays out. Now I'm just looking to see if I wanted to have these. I have some silver ones and I have some black ones. Again, more details. we'll see how that plays out. I'm not sure either way. I really would like to get some black washers, but I don't have any, of course. Anyway, but it is all in a day's work here in the shop. It's a great sport. It's a great hobby. I hope you have the same passion I have for it. And I always shoot pictures so I can, in the worst of all worlds, go down to my computer and look at them late at night, looking at it over and over again to decide. And as I've said many times, small details. Just a lot of small details. And always, if I don't like it, I can put it right back the way it was. That's the golden rule of doing evil twins. You can always just put it back the way you had it. And finally, time we can get inside, have a cup of coffee, and get into a nice warm house. And having lots of photos at the end of every day, I like to shoot a few photos just to see what I've done. And I always make that decision if I like it. If I don't like it, of course, the golden rule is just put it back the way it was. So I hope this video was entertaining and gave you some food for thought for working on your passion that you have for motorcycles. This is one of the things we're going to be doing very soon as we get a break in the weather, that we can do some painting. Mixing some pigments up. This is a future video. We have other little details to do on the MT09, and I have a list of about 15 projects that'll probably take me through the winter, but any day I'm able to ride, I like to ride. Today was not one of the days I got to ride. So at the end of every video, I tend to look on my computer at some of the old things that have gone on before, getting ideas for future projects, things that I want to do, good memories of track days gone by, and among other things. And great evil twin project, the seat for the GS was one of them. Working on Mark Morgan's 600 Yamaha, that was a great project. And of course the rides we used to make to Mudna on a regular basis, and riding in the snow here. You got a couple days riding a bike in the snow. Such good memories. I often think, especially at this time of year, that Jimmy Stewart is going to come out into my shop someday and put his arm around me and say, "Wendy, you've had a wonderful life. Let's look at what life would have been like if you never got involved in motorcycling. Oh, you'd be homeless and laying in the gutter or whatever." Anyway, motorcycles have been a big part of basically my whole life since I've been a very young teenager. And they've influenced me in a lot of ways. They've helped me be creative, helped me be, in a very small way, part of a very nice group of people that I used to call the A-Team. Maybe I should still call them the A-Team. A lot of them have left us. Some have moved on. But basically, we have the same core of people that share a passion for motorcycling. And in my case, I've been lucky enough to assemble this very humble, small collection of motorcycles. I do enjoy working on them every day. I do enjoy shooting and editing the video on YouTube. That keeps me in touch with my friends and even people that I've never met before. That it's just been a wonderful thing. YouTube has been such a big positive influence on my life, and I have to thank all the people that have contributed into my knowledge base through YouTube and through personal interaction. And by sharing this information, which is the purpose of the channel, and sharing it every day on YouTube, I think we're all better off. So if you enjoyed the video, I hope you share it with your friends. And of course, I hope, most of all, that we'll see you tomorrow. And thanks again for watching.